in conversation with some fascinating ladies who've changed the game in the world of video, music and gaming. Only on Hungama's Women Game Changers podcast.
Welcome to Hungama celebration of the 50 Game Changers for the season 2023. This podcast is women who are chalking their own path in the field of entertainment across music, video and gaming. And I'm Ronak from Hungama. It's my pleasure to welcome the accomplished and multi-talented Mimi Chakrabarti, an actor, singer from Bengal and a member of the Lok Sabha. Hi, Mimi.
Hi, Ronak. Thank you for having me and thank you for choosing me for this place. I'm just out of words. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, I think it's incredible, the journey you've had. So I'm going to start by saying thank you for sharing the knowledge and shortening the learning curve and by doing this podcast today. And before we go, I think, further into the nitty-gritties of the entertainment space and women's place in it, I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about the journey, getting in, getting accepted, getting ahead.
Getting accepted was I like the term. So I started really early in my career. So I actually don't belong from Kolkata. I have come from a very small town called Jalpaiguri from North Bengal. So I came to study in Kolkata because my aim was that I want to get inside TV. But I didn't know that time how to do it. But I only knew that I have to get inside TV and I have to wear those brilliant clothes and dance in this beautiful locals that the actors are dancing. So my mom always used to tell me, you have to work hard in your life. You have to study hard and then you'll be there. So that work hard thing stuck with me. So I came here. And my main motive, trust me, Ronak, my main motive to come to Kolkata was I just wanted to run away to Bombay, just to be an actor. So somehow, my parents might have figured that and they said that, you want to be an actor, so let's finish your studies here. So, and then you can go to Bombay whenever you want.
That's how you ended up in Kolkata.
Yeah, that's how I ended up in Kolkata. Then I started auditioning. Then I went for Femina Miss India. And although I was not selected there, but that gave me a platform actually. So from there, I got my first audition and uske baad, here I am. And I belong from a very middle class Bengali family where you need to embrace art in a way which your family has seen you doing, like the generations has done, like learn singing, learn Ravidar Sangeet, learn Nazrul Giti, and learn drawing, learn dancing, and that's it. And when I used to ask that if I'm learning all this, what am I supposed to do with all this? You just have to learn it. So I was always the person who I was the black swan of the family. I always used to say that, no, I won't do this, I won't do that. So everyone used to tell my mother that we think that she's not from our family because she's such a rebel. So I was very tomboyish. I never learned singing. I never went to a school.
Did you not?
No, I didn't. My entire family did, but I learned from listening to them, I never went to a schooling. I never had a teacher. No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because as an actor and a singer and a server of the people, you've always been a voice for women. I want to know, is living in a small town, your mom told you to work hard, but they didn't tell you not to have the aspirations to be an actor or to be in the entertainment industry? Yeah,
see, the first and foremost line, I would say it in Bengali and then I'll translate that. The line they used to say, Amader family theke keu ei industry te jay na. No one from our family goes to this industry. This was the line.
I think that line exists in every language and dialect in this country.
Yeah. So, but what should I do? I have already dreamt of it and I have never believed in killing my dreams. Although I have never seen anyone around me from whom I could have taken my inspiration or my aspirations, because what I could see around me was people compromising with their dreams and I was not born to be like that. Like now I believe that I was not born to be like that. But that time I used to I used to think that there were a lot of people who used to make me feel that, because she's dreaming something not in the box, out of the box, she's not normal. They used to come and tell my mom that, you should consult her with a doctor or because we don't think that she's in the right track of mind. This has also happened.
That's
so yeah, so from there, my parents are middle class parents. My mom was already struggling with the nitty-gritties of the family, and my sister was extremely good in studies, and so they were all focused on my sister, and it was like that she will figure it out. So I said, okay, I will figure it out by myself. So after 12, I said that I am running away. Main to bhag rahi hu. I am not staying. So I just ran away to Kolkata. I came to Kolkata, and then everything happened.
Okay. So, Mimi, looking at you today, everyone sees the wins, the releases, the press. A lot of people don't realize is the rejection, the missed targets, the exhaustion part of the journey. Tell us about that.
Well, first, I would think that I would like to thank God or the supreme power, which gave me the strength to come to a new city and start from scratch. So I studied in Ashutosh College in Kolkata, and I was just figuring out how to start with my career and all. So when it was my first audition, but I would say that I was very thankful that, I didn't know what camera was. I just wanted to pass the audition so that I have enough pocket money to shop. So I just went there and I said that, dude, really, I don't know. I can't stand in a line for 2 hours. If you're taking me, just take an audition and leave me, or I'm leaving. I don't know. Somehow they just said, okay, come in. And they took my audition, and they didn't call me for 1 or 2 months. So I said, okay, ye gaya. This is not going to happen. So, and I forgot about it too. Right. So one day they give me a call and say that, in 1 month, the shooting is going to happen, this and that. This is the workshop. This is this, this is this. I said, is this really happening? So that happened. And then the serial stopped in 3 months, and somehow, I don't know how, it's just the universe, I believe. The legend Rituparna Ghosh somehow found out about it, and
when
there
he
was
starting the production for Gaane Ropare.
Yes. So it was Rituparna Ghosh and Prashanjit Chatterjee together coming on television for the first time, and I was hearing all about it on the newspapers and everything, and I never knew that I would ever get a call there. So suddenly I get a call that can you come to Prashanjit's house for an audition tomorrow? I said, what? They said, yeah, please, and wear some decent clothes, not your Bermudas. Please wear something Indian and come. I said, okay. So I went in my Bermudas because I had nothing to wear. I hardly had my auto fare, rickshaw fare also I hardly had. So I somehow managed, took it from my friends and went there. And I knew it is not happening there because there were already people who had done serial, were standing in the queue wearing sari, looking extremely beautiful, reading their lines. And suddenly I see Rituparna Ghosh walking into the makeup room, okay? And I had no words to say. I was just stoned there. And he came to me and said that, let me see. He took a kajal. He put that kajal in my eye. Took a bindi, put that bindi, and he had got some extremely some saris. He had a amazing collection of saris. So he got a few saris and put that sari on me and said that I got my poope. Now you cancel the audition. She's finalized.
What are you saying?
I swear, this audition was happening downstairs. There was 20, 25, 30, or I don't know, beautiful looking girls who were so much senior to me, who had done serial. Suddenly, I don't know why he comes up to the makeup room upstairs and says that this is my poopy, I got her. Cancel the audition. I was like, this can't be true.
Was this project everything? Was it the ultimate validation for a small town girl from Kolkata, from Bengal? To have the opportunity to do this project with Guruji's essaying his characters?
Yeah, I mean, Ronak, the time I got this character, I was very, very young. I was probably 19 or 20. So I didn't know the weight of the character that time. For me, what it was that my first hoarding, my first billboard came up that time. That is what it meant to me that time. I never thought that a girl from a small town could have a billboard in a city like this.
Right.
And I actually didn't know the weight of my character. What I was doing, I was very unaware of what I was doing because I was working with stalwarts of this industry. I was working with people who have been there, conquered. What an amazing cast it had. Everyone used to ask me that, are you scared? I said, scared for what? It's like, you are the lead and these people have been in the industry before you were even born. So what do you have to say about it? I said, I don't know. Like, let's see what happens. I'm getting enough money and I'm happy. But when it started, trust me, Ronak, everything changed for me. I don't know, it just touched me somewhere deep inside and my life changed post that. Like, doing the role, I understood what the weight of the character was, what Rabindranath Tagore's weight is that in that script was, what Rituparna Ghosh meant in that script and everything. It was just the stars and the
Everything
manifestation. Yeah, of course. Yes, definitely.
Now, you have 3 distinct transitions that you actually hold down, all 3 roles as an actor, a singer, and as somebody who serves the people as a member of parliament for the Lok Sabha.
Right.
How do you do all those 3 and how do you take risk reward into consideration when you're making these career choices?
Yeah, definitely. There is when I first, I was nominated, I was elected as a people's servant for Lok Sabha, people's representative as in Lok Sabha. Trust me, I was trolled big time for wearing jeans and t-shirt. For wearing jeans and t-shirt in Parliament for the first time and clicking a picture outside Parliament because I was happy. I was just celebrating my day.
Yeah.
And then I realized that when men wear jeans and t-shirt, they are never trolled. If they're clicking pictures in the same position where I click pictures, they never got trolled. But a woman who is wearing a decent jeans t-shirt and a sneakers gets trolled because their notion about what a woman should wear broke. That stereotype broke. So I guess people say that change is inevitable, but it is also difficult for them to accept change when it comes in a woman's shape, I believe. At an age where I was at a very young age, I got that responsibility, and I always tried to be real, and I want to project myself as a very real person, as I always did. So I went there, not thinking much, and thankfully now I see a lot of people wearing casual, things which they are comfortable in politics. So that makes me happy. But yeah, definitely there is a lot of stake because it is always said that an actor should never have a color. The only color they should have is love from the audience. So when you are standing for a party, your audience already gets divided. So that stake is definitely there. But I believe that my audience has loved me so deep and so hard that they have overlooked that part of mine and has stood by my hard work and my zeal to do better for them. So yeah, my last few were blockbusters. So I'm happy about that.
Yes, they were. So congratulations on that. Tell me, in the entertainment space also there's a little bit of bro culture, boys club. You're not in the rooms when a lot of the entertainment decisions are being taken. How did you pass those invisible walls completely as an outsider?
From this industry?
In the industry, in entertainment.
Yeah. See, entertainment industry has a lot of what should I say? I don't know the exact word about it, but there is a misogyny there. There is a patriarchy there, which has been, and every time there's a discussion about it, I have seen men who doesn't want to address it, but it's there. If we start from pay disparity, if an male actor who's there, who is paid 3 times more than you, the reason is just because he's male. You are putting the same hard work as him. but you are paid half of the price. And the one thing of this industry is no one raises a voice for it. And even if a voice is raised, it's curbed because, they sideline you. They tell you that, oh, she has a lot of opinions. Let's sideline her and take someone who is voiceless, and take someone who has very less questions to ask. Take someone who is not as opinionative as she is. So, yeah, there are things which happen. So that's a sad part. And I have a voice because I say a lot. Also, I have been sidelined a lot. But who cares? I'm here because of the love which I get from my audience, and I'll be there.
That's fantastic, because really it is very easy, I think, when the stakes are so high, to become silent. And I think that's sort of, that's happening often. And I think it's great that you've been able to use that voice, in fact, to be noticed, be different, be the one that stands out. But tell me, does imposter syndrome ever become a thing? Do you sometimes look around and say, what am I doing here? I don't know if I belong.
Yeah, I should tell you, Ronak, there has been times, I should tell you this, that people have accepted the fake so much that when you are real, they get annoyed. So, also there are places where I have been and I didn't want to be there, and earlier in my career, but now I choose for myself. If I am giving someone my time, and the time is the most valuable thing on earth, I believe, and I can never get it back. So it depends, and I decide with whom I am spending my time with, and if it is giving me a fulfillment, love. So I would love to meet that person again. I love to take part in that conversation again. I'll be in that room again. But if you're making me feel low, if you're making me feel like you're not letting me talk, you're not making me a part of the conversation, and you're making me feel like, okay, you are here, so just be quiet. So I don't do it anymore. Yeah. Things have changed in years.
And years to that, I don't think, I think the time for women standing by and being silenced and being glad for just being considered is over. Absolutely. Tell me, given that it's been, mostly highs and highs and highs, and yes, there's trolling, and yes, there's, tell me, what are the incidents that make the struggle worth it, or make you, ignore the comments and the backlash?
See, I actually, initially the trolls, when social media came into, we are the millennials. We have seen from no social media to the hype of social media, and then extreme social media. So we have seen the evolvement of everything probably, and we are that kind of generation. And when this trolling came into effect, I was like, I think a lot of actors and a lot of people from our generation would agree that suddenly people started saying things which we were not used to, telling us things like, now even we are concerned about taking a picture and posting it, like, iske niche kya bol denge. So it used to affect me at certain point of time, Ronak, frankly, and especially my mother. My parents are like, my mother is very much into social media. Like, she doesn't post or isn't there, but she is like continuously checking the comments and everything. So I had to, she used to get affected. So once I had posted a picture.
People who love you actually get affected the most.
Get affected, yeah. So I still remember there was a picture of me and my mum on Mother's Day I had posted. So it was me and my mum in Bali, and we were enjoying the sea. So someone has just written some offensive thing, not only about me, but about my mum, that like, how have you raised your daughter that she wears a swimsuit in front, like something like that. So that my mum got in touch with, and she was so affected that she didn't know what to do about it. And she started scolding me. She started, why did you post this picture? We haven't raised you in this way. And then she realized after a few days that it was actually not my fault. And she actually came to me and apologized that, I'm very sorry for this, but it really affected me. But now I have just what the word actually would be counseling. I have counseled my parents in a way that if you can take the good, you also have to take the bad. That is a part and parcel of my life.
Right.
And for me, it doesn't affect me at all now. Trust me, it doesn't affect me. Because I believe I thrive for a better, positive audience. I'm here for a loving people who had been in and around me, who love me, who will go and watch me in theaters, who have been there for me. And that person who is hidden behind the screen in a dark and just writing one thing about me just doesn't matter. I won't give him or her that importance anymore.
That's wonderful to hear. Tell me, when you were going through in your career, were there people who you believe gave you a hand up, helped you, gave you, a platform or a voice or just respect for your craft, all of that? Who were the people that you that helped you get here?
Actually, post I came here and started my work, there was a, I don't know, I believe I think my work stood for myself because I never had a godfather in this industry who'd speak for me, or I didn't have there was no favoritism for me. I never belong to a favorite group where people would say that, cast her because she's this to me, she's that to me, or she's a friend. That didn't happen to me. But yeah, I had great films in my career which came to me because one after the other, because of the success of the films I had, post Gaane Rupare, I started with films which were huge success on box office. And I believe my producers believed in me, and the directors believed in me, and they gave me the work on basis of my work, not on the basis of referral or something like that. And people who gave me platform, I would like to say that it was my fans who had helped me, watched my films, and also a few, I would say that a lot of directors who had faith in me, believed in me so early in my career that they gave me big films, put it on my shoulder, and thought that I could do a good job. So I think it is altogether my directors, my producers who got me amazing scripts. And later I got immense support from my family too, because initially they were not quite on that space of mind with me, because they thought that this industry is not for me. What would happen if I fail? What would happen if I didn't survive? And they used to think that a lot is at stake. But later on, when they realized that I'm here to stay and I'm never leaving it. So my parents were a very big support post my first film. Yeah.
I think it's true, what you said. I mean, the fear that you won't survive. I think fear of failure, especially in certain industries, entertainment being one of them, I think is much more acute also for both genders, and much more so for women.
Yeah.
You never thought you'd fail, Mimi? You never thought you'd kind of get...
I never thought I would fail.
No?
No, never. Not for a single moment in my life. When I had 200 rupees in my SBI account and I had no money to pay the rent for, and I had no money for the auto fare, I still thought that I will be on top. I never for a single moment doubted myself.
Okay. Have you had the opportunity to speak to maybe women, but youngsters in the industry where you've been able to guide them, mentor them, give them a chance to kind of figure this out, shorten the learning curve?
Ronak, I believe the generation right now who have come after us or have are smarter than what we were. I believe that because they have come into a time of social media, they have come into a time of managers, they have come into a time of 5 people in and around them, a lot of paps, a lot of entourage, and we never came up with that. I still remember my first, my second film, Bojana Se Bojana. It was a mega hit. So I didn't have a stylist, I didn't have a makeup artist, I didn't have a hairdresser. So I didn't have money. So I had to pay my bills. So I didn't know what to do. I had my mom gave me $2,000 or $1,000. I still remember. I went to Esplanade Market, bought my first premiere clothes. I still have them, I guess, and wore them for the film's premiere. So, but now a generation knows that, what you have to wear, how you have to look like, and how your Instagram profile should be, how you need to project yourself, how to talk to media. You have 5 people grooming you also. I don't think they need our gyan anymore.
Okay. And, tell me, what made you decide that when you were being offered the nomination and then you took it up and then got elected, what made you decide that that's a step you want to take? Because your acting career was going great guns.
Yeah.
There was no reason for you to step back. You were still very much in, you still have, it's not like you were past your prime and you were looking for alternate things to do and keep yourself busy or, so what made you decide to take that decision?
So a lot of people have asked me this question, but because I actually had no choice, because by the time I came to know about my nominations, it was already announced. So, and I was in a state that, I actually told that I cannot contest the election because I'm not ready for it. But everyone in and around me, my CM, everyone, my family, everyone said that it won't be that hard, You just be there, you just win the elections. That's it. It's not that hard. I never thought that winning an election post that what is going to happen, how people will speculate you, how you will be under scrutiny every minute, how people will talk to you, how you talk to them, how you have to behave a certain type, how you have to be in a certain line. So I just tried to be myself even post getting the chair. But that didn't go well with a lot of people too. That's why I always said that I don't want to do elections. But now I can serve a lot of more people. I always tell this to everyone that I'm just a people servant. I had been working for people for a very long time. For animals, for peoples, I have been working for a very long time, and now I get an opportunity to work for them on a broader horizon and a broader prospect, I guess, because I have my own funds to take care of them. So that is how I look through it.
So in this process, is there any part of focus that you're being able to carve out to maybe create a little bit more structure around entertainment or encourage the arts simply because that's just something that comes so naturally to you?
I think I found my way to music post that. I guess I started making music post. I was so stressed during elections and post-elections, not to name the trollings and the oppositions, not to name that, but I was really very stressed and everything, such a big chair coming to me at an age of 30 was really a big deal for me. I had just, it was, trust me, I'm using the word, it was a nightmare to me sometimes when I didn't know what to do. And then one day I thought that why not music? Music was always there, but I never had the courage to bring my music to people. But through music, through my channel, through my YouTube channel, I thought that I'm a person who never believes that why didn't I do it? I'm a person who believes in let's do it now. If you're thinking of it, let's do it now. Let's finish our goal. Let's give that tick on your wish list. What you want to do, and never say that I wish I could have done it. So I did it. I launched Ranjana, my album called Dreams, and we shot it in Istanbul, and we went very big about it. And I had no idea that people will love it so much. And then I started off with it whenever I get time and I want to unwind myself. Either I take a vacation, or even if I have no time for vacations, I just concentrate some time on music. So it helps me a lot. I know I'm not a trained one, but it's just something that makes me happy.
No, I think it's great. You've taken a hobby that you obviously have an inherent skill for and kind of made it something that's really important to you. And I want to know, as a woman leader, Is it lonely?
Yeah, I guess so, yes.
And so who are your people? Who are the people that you have constantly around you, beyond just your parents? Who are the people you can let your hair down with, where you don't have to be strong?
I guess I have a few friends, handful of them with me who have been there for years, and it's more than a decade now, that I celebrate with them and I get shattered in front of them. It's fine with them. They never judge me. And definitely it's my dogs. I unwind with them and I can't imagine my life without them. So yeah, a few
You have 2 dogs?
3 now.
Wow.
So yeah, I guess that's a handful of them whom I have always found with me, and that's it.
So Mimi, tell me, how do we funnel more women leaders in entertainment? Not just more women in entertainment, but more women who rise up to the top and do the many things that women can do in entertainment.
Yeah, I would say everyone just have a voice. Don't get just raise your voice, just speak about it, just have opinions. Just the box is not made for you. You are just meant to be there up in the sky to brighter everything and to shine every day. So you are just that piece of diamond inside a coal. Just you need to come out of it, come out of the shell, and don't let anyone question your abilities, what you can do. And the more people tell you that you can't do, it should be your fuel of survival. That's it. You should be there.
I think that's an excellent piece of advice for youngsters today.
And also, I want to tell each and every woman who will be listening to me through this podcast is that please be independent. That doesn't matter who your father is, doesn't matter who your brother is, your husband or your boyfriend is. Just be independent, because that helps you making right decisions in life for yourself, not for anyone else.
100% Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think financial independence and then independence in decision making are both things that we must mandate for all girl children today. Must be encouraged to think with that single-minded pursuit.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, I think that was a great lasting thought for the youngsters and for the women that that are tuning in to be in charge of their destinies right now. You, I think, and for everyone listening, is your ability to stand up for yourself and for everything around you. And for me, I think that's been the most infectious part of the conversation. And if there's one thing that I think all of us should take away from this, is to speak up for yourself and say, put your hand up and say, I want to do it. Don't wait for someone to come to you. Be the person that goes out.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It was
my pleasure, Ronak. My pleasure.
Thank you so much. And congratulations to the many mountains you will still climb.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, guys.
Day.
This is Ronak from Hungama. Thank you for tuning in, and stay with us as we meet more women in entertainment who aren't just playing the game, they are changing it.
In conversation with some fascinating ladies who've changed the game in the world of video, music, and gaming. Only on Hungama's Women Game Changers podcast.